So looking at the boons in Hades, if you don't count Chaos, there are 157 boons in the game Hades. 28 of those are duo boons. Aphrodite has 14 boons, this is not including their duo boons, those are separate. Aphrodite has 14, Ares has 14, Artemis 13, Athena, Demeter, Dionysus all have 14. Poseidon has 16 for some reason because he's got the extra legendary boon, and I believe he's got like an extra like tier 2 boon. He's got lots of extra boons. And then Zeus has 14 and Hermes has 16. Then Chaos has 12 boons with 13 possible curses that can go along with it as well. So let's take a look at the tier maker list. There just happened to be this one out there already that had all the boons already kind of even labeled. We're going to start, like I said, we're starting with secondary or tier 2 boons. We'll start with tier 2 and secondary boons. Starting with After Party. After Party is we're going to go through these kind of fast. After Party is when you finish an encounter, it heals you back up to a threshold. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the threshold increases based on the rarity. So at common, it's 30% all the way up to 60%. This can actually heal you quite a bit. It's a good healing boon, but it's not one that I ever really go for. It's just kind of like if I see a good one or whatever, it's fine. It's not very good for high heat necessarily, especially if you have. Well, it's good if you aren't using the heat, the Pact of Punishment that reduces your healing, but it can actually heal you quite a bit in a run. I think I haven't ever calculated it, but I think it'd be interesting to see, like, if you got this early, how often would that heal you and for how much? It would be a lot. It would be a lot. Okay, we're not gonna do Aphrodite's Aid yet, so I rank it an A just because it's really good healing, and healing is there's few and far between as far as boons that heal you. So we're gonna put that in there. Arctic Blast. Arctic Blast is Arctic Blast is the one that you get 10 stacks of. You get 10 stacks of chill, and there's an explosion, and the explosions are pretty decent damage, and it's a pretty large area, and these don't have a cooldown. So say you if you have that boon that makes it so you take damage, that enemy instantly gets 10 stacks, that can like chain, and you can get a lot of damage from like especially like the laser enemies. That'll dump a lot of damage into an enemy. So Arctic Blast, I think it's pretty good. I think it's only marginally useful in the sense that how often are you actually getting to 10 stacks without that one boon, wherever that is, Frozen Touch. Without Frozen Touch, I think Arctic Blast is okay with like a really fast weapon. But then how often are you getting how often would you choose Demeter on like a fast attacking weapon? Anyway. Just to get the legendary, right? That's a good point. It's a way to get the legendary for Demeter. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Okay. Well, I'm gonna leave it at B. I think B is fine for it. Auto reload, basically the cast stones drop out of enemies faster. So kind of like what Hera bow does. It's passive. It drops out faster. I'm gonna put this in C. It's fine to get the cast stones faster. Yeah, it's fine. It's good. It's not, I would say, so I guess if you think about it this way, B is like average. It's just like a solid average boon. C means it underperforms or you take it less often. A means maybe it overperforms a bit. And then S is like, these are build defining boons. Yeah, so like I said, we're gonna start with tier 2 boons and secondary boons, and then we'll go back and we'll do all the tier 1 boons. All right. Okay, Bad Influence. Bad Influence is the one, let's see. I think Bad Influence is the one where you deal more damage if you have 3 or more enemies with, 3 or more enemies are hangover afflicted. You have a damage bonus. On a build where you are applying lots of this hangover, you're gonna end up dealing a lot more damage. So I actually put this in A tier as well. I don't know about, I'm gonna readjust at the end of each of these sections, but bad influence definitely does a lot for damage. All right, bad news. Bad news is the Hermes legendary, which I didn't realize it, but it has the same symbol as flurry cast. So that's kind of confusing, but that's flurry cast, and that's bad news. We're not going to talk about bad news yet because that's a legendary. All right, battle rage. Battle rage, it increases the damage of your next attack or special. This is okay. I sometimes struggle with this one. Sometimes it's hard to get it to work, but with certain weapons, it can be a lot of extra damage. So for certain builds, I think this is it overperforms a bit. It's very, very nice. So we'll put that in A tier. Battle rage, sweet. All right, billowing strength. Billowing strength, after you use your call, you have a certain period of time, I think it's 20 seconds, where you do additional damage. All sources of damage are increased. I think this is our first S tier boon. Just using a call, like, because you can get your call charged up enough to use it once, and then for 20 seconds, which is often as long as an encounter lasts, you have that additional damage. It's a lot of damage. So I'm gonna put that in S tier. It's the first one. All right, black metal. Black metal are blade rifts are going to be bigger. It doesn't affect the damage at all. It just affects the size. I'd say that's fine, but we're gonna put it slightly underperforms. It's nice to have it bigger, but it's you know. But I wouldn't say that it's gonna make a huge difference. Okay, blackout, that's the legendary for Dionysus, so we're not gonna talk about that. All right, blinding flash. I think that's the one, that's the curse, right? Okay, so it's a curse that makes your backstabs deal more damage. I'll leave that right in B. I think that's fine. Blood frenzy. Blood frenzy means that you lose a death defiance and you're gonna deal more damage after you've lost a certain number of death defiances, right? Depending on its rank. This I think is okay. It's really good if you are struggling to beat the game, because or if you're on like a higher difficulty level, because at bosses you'll lose the death defiance, and it's only for that encounter, right? So if you lose a death defiance against a boss, suddenly you're dealing more damage to the boss. And you could say that like with stubborn defiance, this would be better because you could get it in every room potentially. Blood frenzy, I'm gonna leave it in B. There's an argument for it to be in C because I don't know. Yeah, these secondary boons, sometimes it's hard to compare apples to apples, but I'll leave it in B for now. It's fine. Blown kiss means your first hit with the cast, if it's the first thing that hits an enemy, it does extra damage, and it also increases the range of that cast. Now, the problem with blown kiss is, yeah, first hit bonus damage multiplier. Okay, and the trouble with it is that it sometimes messes with the hitbox of your cast, so it can be kind of annoying. I'd say. I take it sometimes, but usually I don't, because I'd rather have a consistent hitbox than a longer hitbox, I guess, right? To have longer range, because you're gonna get close. If you're using Aphrodite's cast, you're gonna get close. It's not like you're gonna be okay to get, I don't know. I've never like thought about it like, ooh, I'm farther away, so I can cast from here. So that's kind of my thought. And then if you have like a dash attack or something, I usually end up dealing a little bit of damage before I get to an enemy with a cast, so I think it slightly underperforms. Boiling blood, you're gonna charge up your call faster with just damage that you receive. And it's a lot. I think it's like, what is it, like 40% increased? Let's check out what the numbers are on this one. What are the numbers on boiling point? So yeah, it's 40% at common all the way up to 70% in heroic. Who has ever gotten a heroic boiling point? Let me know. Let me know if you've ever gotten that before. But it does increase how your god gauge increase, but I hate anything that makes it so you want to take damage for it to take effect. I guess I don't, of all the ones that increase your call charge, this is my least favorite one because you have to take damage, and that doesn't seem great. I'd rather it be effective on the damage you deal, like for instance when we get to Clouded Judgment, we'll talk about that. All right, Breaking Wave. When you slam into a wall or an obstacle, it creates a little explosion that deals damage and then knocks back again. Breaking Wave is super fun. I think if you've got a Poseidon build, Breaking Wave is I don't know. I think it's super great. Like if you combine this with your Sea Storm effects and all your Poseidon knockback effects, like this is super great and a lot of fun, especially in sticks. Like you are just pinballing enemies, and that's so much fun to see. So I'm gonna put it at top of A. I may end up moving it depending on where we are. Let's see. I want to make a little adjustment. I think After Party is just fine. It's just in the middle here. I'm not gonna put it way up high, but in A tier anymore. Okay, Brilliant Repost. Brilliant Repost is, first of all, it's a boon that's required if you want to find Athena's legendary. So it's the only boon that's required to find Athena's legendary, but it is a tier 2 boon. This makes it so your deflections, when you deflect a projectile or any attack really, it does extra damage. As a boon all by itself, I wouldn't say it's that amazing. Oh, hey buddy. Hi.
Do you know where my brother is?
Do I know where your brother is?
I mean, my mom.
Your mom? I don't know where your mom is, or your brother. Your mom might be putting things away because she just got back from making cotton candy. You can go check in the basement, or maybe she's outside in the van. Those are my two ideas. Would you close my door for me? Thank you, sir. So I'm gonna put Brilliant Repost in C. It's fine. All right, Broken Resolve. This is gonna be kind of like a theme with Aphrodite. Is these boons are pretty forgettable. They're pretty forgettable. So I have to kind of check all these because they all feel the same in the same bad way. So Broken Resolve increases your damage reduction from weak by 10% at common, all the way up to 17.5%. It's nice to have more damage resistance, right? That's always important to have damage resistance. But it's so forgettable, and it seems like such a small effect, right? I'd much rather have something else, almost anything else, than to just increase the amount of damage reduction that the curse does. It already does 30%, so we're increasing it to 40. That's nice, but yeah, it doesn't make me excited about your boon. Okay, Bronze Skin. Similarly to, I mean, they're in a similar vein. It just reduces all damage by, I think it starts at like 5%, and it goes up from there. I think it might even be less. I'm not sure, but it's not that impressive. I'm gonna put Broken Skin Bronze Skin down in C tier. Not very exciting. It underperforms. It's fine, but I don't get excited about it. Okay, Calculated Risk. That's a duo boon. Clean Kill. Clean Kill increases your crit damage by a flat amount, and it's additive, right? So it's not like it's multiplicative. It just increases it by a set amount. It's not so great. I'll take it if there's nothing else, if I just want more damage, but I think it underperforms a little bit. Clean Kill. It's just a flat damage increase to your crits only. Your crits already do 200% bonus, 200% bonus damage, and so this is just increasing it to like 230% bonus damage. Clouded Judgment. Clouded Judgment increases your charge for your call when you take damage and when you deal damage. So it's like Poseidon's, but better. I think that this is pretty good. I like this one. I'll take Clouded Judgment. If I have a decent call, like if I have Zeus's call, or if I have Dionysus's call, or even like, yeah, any of the damaging calls where you just want one charge, like I'll take that. That's pretty nice. The calls are pretty powerful at times. Okay, Curse of Vengeance. I guess we didn't talk about like the the damage on damage taken. I guess we'll rank these in here because they're not exactly tier 1 boons. I think Curse of Vengeance is fine. It's it's a pretty big chunk of damage. I'm gonna leave it in the middle, I think, though. So you take a hit and you curse the enemies around you. It's very area dependent. It won't like curse a ranged enemy from far away. Some of them do that. So this one doesn't. It's just in the small area around you. So it really only affects enemies in melee range. It's fine. It's a lot of damage. It's a lot of doom damage. And if you have other doom effects, it's good. If you have privilege status, or if you want to get privilege status, it's a nice way to do that. But I'd say it sits in the middle there. It's a good one. It's a good one for some damage. All right, Deathless Stand. This is a way to get a Death Defiance back if you've lost your Death Defiance. So Deathless Stand, you're impervious for starting at 2 seconds longer, and it goes up from there. So this one isn't as good as the other one. It just gives you a shield for longer. I'll still put it in A because getting a Death Defiance back can save your run. I'd say it's good enough, and it gives you a Death Defiance back. Of the two, I mean, like I kind of look at them as the exact same type of boon. They give you a Death Defiance back. That's amazing. Since Patroclus was brought into the game, I think they've become less helpful or beneficial because you can restore your Death Defiances potentially at the end of Elysium, which is really when you want it the most. But it's still good to have. It's still a very nice A tier boon for sure. Different League. Here we go again. Another forgettable Aphrodite boon. We were just talking about how these are somewhat forgettable. Let's see. Different League. Reduce damage from foes. Okay, so let's talk about this. How is that? I mean, so Broken Resolve just increases the amount of damage reduction you get on a cursed enemy. It goes from 30% up from there. This is like nearby enemies do a flat percentage less damage to you. Just generally very forgettable. I don't know. I'm not. That doesn't make me excited at all. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, more damage reduction. That's great. Dire Misfortune makes it so you can actually stack a little bit more damage. So if you have the curse attack from or special from Ares, or even the Curse of Vengeance, it'll stack and add more damage. It's not a whole lot more, but the idea is if you've got a weapon that already deals damage quickly, this just makes it so you're not losing out on that damage, right? Because it goes off every few seconds, or it's like, how long is it? Like a second and a half or something for the doom damage to go off. This lets you, no matter how many, the more times you hit them, the higher the damage is. It's pretty good. I'd say it slightly overperforms because when you've got a situation and you're dealing, you've got doom damage, you kind of want that ability to increase it by attacking more. You're going to be attacking more anyway. It's nice. Dying Lament. Dying Lament is one where an enemy explodes, deals damage, and applies the weak curse when they die. I actually really like this boon a lot. It's like of all the tier 2 Aphrodite boons, it's the one that I'll take in a run. Like, I'll be happy to see this if Aphrodite shows up once and I see Dying Lament. It's like, sweet. That's a great way to apply the curse, and it's a great way to deal a little extra damage. Yeah, I like it, and it's usually a pretty decent amount of damage too. So I'll give that one an A. Give it an A. Okay. Next one is going to be Double Strike. Double Strike makes it so your lightning strikes can hit twice. I'm gonna put this. Yeah, it's hard. So like, because there's an argument for it to be an S tier, I think, but I think it's really high A tier, similar to Breaking Wave. It does a wonderful thing. Having more lightning strikes is super, super great. All the different ways that you can get lightning strikes in this game. It's nice to have them doubled. It's just a chance to double damage. Okay, looking for more tier 2. Empty inside once again. Aphrodite, forgettable boon. What does empty inside do? Weak duration. Oh my gosh, first D tier boon. I do not care about weak being on for a few seconds longer. I do not care. That is D tier for sure. First D tier boon. Easy D tier for me. Easy D tier. Engulfing vortex. Okay, so we had, did we have the other one? Yeah, we had black metal, which makes them bigger. Engulfing vortex like sucks enemies in. I think that this, in comparison to black metal, this is like a poor man's, it's a poor man's hunting blades. So hunting blades makes it so they chase enemies around. Engulfing vortex sucks enemies in. It also increases the duration of the blade rift. Yeah, it increases it by a certain number of seconds, or not a certain number of seconds, but up to half a second. So pretty good, pretty good. I'm gonna put it in A tier. Next, we have exit wounds. Exit wounds makes it so it deals damage when a cast stone pops out of an enemy. I'm gonna get a lot of hate because people love exit wounds. It's good damage. I'll say though, unless you have auto reload where it's popping out of enemies faster, or you've got Poseidon's sword, I mean, it kind of underperforms. It does decent damage, but it's like, I don't know. It's an interesting boon, and I love the way it's designed. But as far as like performance, I wouldn't say I go for exit wounds unless I've got Poseidon's sword or maybe even Hera bow. It also requires that you've got gosh, what is the Stygian soul? Not Stygian soul, Infernal soul. It requires that you have Infernal soul where the cast stones can actually pop out of enemies, and then it just does damage every, I don't know, how long does it take for the stone to pop out normally? Like, yeah, it's situational. It's fine. It just underperforms. It underperforms. Period. The end. I'm gonna throw in all of the Hermes boons because they kind of feel like tier 2 boons to me, because they can be added in addition to any tier 1 boon. So we'll talk about Flurry Cast now. Flurry Cast makes it so you cast you cast faster. It's like it turns your cast into a machine gun. That's really all I need to say. I think it definitely goes into A tier. It's nice to send out the casts faster. I'll just even a white normal rarity Flurry Cast. I'm excited to see that if I'm doing a cast build at all. It's wonderful. Very, very nice. Getting through them pretty fast here. Okay, Frozen Touch. That's the one that it applies 10 stacks of chill on an enemy if you get hit. This is one of those that's like, it does very little damage, but if this was the only way that you were applying chill, this would be very useful. I think people give chill a bad rap because chill doesn't feel great, and there's 10 stacks of it. Like, how do you get all the way to 10? You need a fast weapon, and why would you put chill on a fast weapon? Well, this one kind of this boon all by itself solves that problem. It puts 10 stacks on if an enemy hits you, and that slows them down a lot. I'd say that this is at least B tier, maybe low A tier sometimes. Chill is a really good curse, I think. Which, who else's thoughts are we talking about here? All right, Glacial Glare makes it so your cast stone for the Demeter cast lasts longer, and it applies chill with each tick. It takes a cast that is decent, and it makes it more decent. I'll put it high B tier, I guess. I like it. I'd say if I was doing a Demeter cast build, I would like to see it. There's no situation that I don't want Glacial Glare. Maybe we'll pop it up into A tier, because you got to think about it with its situation, right? Like, you're in a cast build with Demeter's cast. It's a good one. It slightly overperforms. It's good. Okay. Let's see here. Greater Evasion. Gives you dodge starting at 10% and up to I think 20% for epic. 25% for the heroic. Pretty good. Dodge is nice. That's a good form of damage mitigation, I think. I'll just stick it in B. I think it belongs there. I'll take it. Sometimes, but not always. Greater haste, I think is another high. It's a high B tier. Movement speed is really nice. And there's another boon that we'll talk about later that makes it so movement speed is even better. I'll take greater haste occasionally. It's not bad. Okay, greater recall is a legendary. Actually, I can move these around. I can like put legendaries together. I should be doing that. Holy smokes. I can do this. This makes it so much easier. Okay, where were we? Greater evasion, good. Greater haste, gooder, slightly gooder. Greatest reflex. I think this is another S tier boon, honestly. Being able to have more dashes, super great, especially if you've got what's the mirror upgrade that gives you more or one dash, but it increases your damage and chance to dodge by 50% if you dodge right when an enemy attacks or something, or dash right when an enemy attacks. Greatest reflex is great. It's great even when you don't have that, but it's phenomenal, incredible if you do have that version of the dash. I can't think of what that one's called though. You guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, Heaven's Vengeance. Heaven's Vengeance is another one of the revenge boons. So an enemy hits you and they get a lightning strike. This is a ton of damage, and it can hit an enemy at any range, and it does area damage, right? So it's a lightning bolt that does area damage. I think that this is a high A tier 2 boon. Very nice. Very nice revenge boon. Probably the best revenge boon. Yeah, probably the best one, because it does so much damage and it can hit really fast, versus like Frozen Touch or Curse of Vengeance. Like, it doesn't matter if you've already got 10 stacks, unless you've got Arctic Blast. Like, you're just doing the small amount of damage with multiple hits, whereas, and then Curse of Vengeance, unless you've got Dire Misfortune, is just doing the one blurb of curse damage when it goes off, whereas this one is just constantly applying it. If you've done revenge boons, you know how, like a revenge only build for an AFK Hades build, then you know how important Heaven's Vengeance is. It does a ton of damage. It's like one of the best ways to get tons of damage. Yeah, hit the like button, everybody. Thanks for being here. So glad that you're here, whether you're here live or whether you're here on YouTube. Hit that like button. Really appreciate it. Okay. We are now at Hidebreaker. Hidebreaker, your crits do more damage to armor. Am I right about that? Is it crits only? Yeah, it's a multiplier against armor, which if you're trying to get the biggest number possible on a crit, Hidebreaker is great. Otherwise, it's pretty mediocre. It's not that exciting, I don't think. I don't get excited about seeing Hidebreaker ever, really. High Tolerance. This is the one if you're standing in Festive Fog, which is Dionysus cast fog stuff, you take less damage. Yeah? Yeah. Take less damage while standing in Festive Fog. It's fine. It's okay. It's another damage reduction thing, and if you're using Dionysus's cast, you might as well take less damage, because the fog is a huge area, so that's nice. But it's another one that I don't get super excited about. I don't get super excited about that. Hey, look at that! Did you give some gifts? High voltage. High voltage, your lightning strikes hit a larger area. This is okay, right? It makes your lightning bolts, which are already area damage, right? The lightning bolt hits, it hits anything in that area. This makes that area bigger. I wouldn't say I get super excited about it. It is, along with Double Strike and Storm Lightning, it's the way that you get to Zeus's legendary, which is super great. It's a super good legendary. But I wouldn't say High Voltage is the more exciting of the three. It's probably second most exciting of those three. Holy Shield. Holy Shield does moderate damage. It does more damage than Frozen Touch, but less than Cursed Vengeance or Heaven's Vengeance. But it gives you a split. I mean, it's like a half second. Is it a half second of shield from any damage, and it deflects anything? It's pretty good. I'm gonna put it in low A tier as far as revenge boons go. It's one of the ones that I like to see. It's a very nice defensive boon, and once you get hit, it's sort of like you know how the broken spear point gives you a little shield once every 5 seconds, I think it is, that you can use that. This is like that, but without the cooldown, so you can have a little mini shield. Doesn't last as long as the broken spear point's shield, but you have that little mini shield for a little while. Hunter Instinct. Hunter Instinct. When you deal crits, this one is when you deal crits, you charge up your call a bit more. It's a very small amount. This is also a less interesting Artemis. Artemis also suffers from the same kind of minor issue that Aphrodite has, where it's like you're only affecting crits, and you might get a decent number of crits, but I wouldn't. I don't know. You already have a really nice effect with the crit. I don't care to add a very marginal benefit to my crits, so I put it down in C tier. It slightly underperforms. It's fine, but it slightly underperforms. Okay, Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark is a curse. It's Artemis's curse that applies if you do a crit, then it puts a little mark on another character. Can't be the same one. If there's a second character or a third, it'll put a mark on that, and their chances of getting a crit, to receive a crit, is higher. I'd say this is A tier, especially like you'll end up doing a lot of crits with Hunter's Mark. I like to get this even if I just have pressure points. This pressure points is a low percentage to get a crit, but if you're fighting a big group of enemies and you crit once, suddenly it can cascade through the whole room, and suddenly you're doing way more crits than you should be with just having pressure points. So I like Hunter's Mark a lot. I'd say it's like high A tier. Very nice. Very nice boon to have. This is taking a long time, by the way. This is gonna be a long video, but we're here for it, right? Hydraulic Might. Hydraulic Might, when you enter a room, the first few seconds that you're in that room, I think is it 10 extra damage? Yeah, 10 seconds. 10 seconds is a long time. I think I'm gonna put it in high B tier. I like Hydraulic Might. 10 seconds is a long time to fight enemies, and you're at least the first wave, you're definitely clearing them out very fast. It's nice in sticks because you clear most rooms within the first 10 seconds anyway. But against boss fights, it's less beneficial. So yeah, high B tier, maybe low A tier. I like it. I don't take it very often, but I like it. Okay, Hyper Sprint. Hyper Sprint. I think I'm gonna toss this one in S tier because in a similar reason to Greatest Reflex, it gives you way more utility for your sprint. It like basically you can travel the distance of 2 sprints in a single, or two dashes in a single dash, which is huge, I think. And it works really nicely with the boon that we're going to talk about later, the quote-unquote capital letters Wombo combo that exists in the game. We'll talk about that in a bit, but I think it's good. Yeah, I think we're gonna put that low S tier. It's great. It adds a lot of utility. Your dash is one of the most, like, you have attacks and you have your dash. Like those are the things that you have to manipulate in the game, but you're dashing a lot. Like if you were to count how many times you dash in the game, like it's maybe one of the most utilized things that you do in Hades. And so Hyper Sprint, it makes it way better. Yes, I'm justifying it for myself. I feel good about this. Low S tier. All right, Impending Doom. Impending Doom makes it so your dooms don't go off as quickly. You have like an added half second, but they deal a percentage increased damage, and it's a decent amount of increased damage. I'd say I like this It's an A tier. It's if you're doing a Doom build, there's no reason why you wouldn't want Impending Doom. I don't think it's just good. In fact, I'll put it above Bad Influence, but slightly below Hunter's Mark. I think it's a really good modifier to your Doom, and it's percentage based, which feels better. It just feels like it does more. You know, as I think about it, I think about like, you know, clean kill versus impending doom. I mean, first of all, clean kill doesn't do nearly as much bonus damage as impending doom does. I'm just thinking about this, and you're guaranteed for the doom to go off. You're not guaranteed to get a crit. Anyway, I'm just trying to explain why I think impending doom is so much better, and I think that's one of the main reasons why.
is very smart.
Okay. Killing Freeze. Killing Freeze, that's the one where if everything is chilled, if every enemy is chilled, they take damage, they decay, they're slowed even more, and they take damage every half second. So the problem with it is that it's hard to get every enemy chilled. Usually in a room, there are some enemies firing at you from range, and there are some enemies that are close to you, and so it's difficult for everything to have chill on them at the same time. Great against a boss though. I'd say it's like good mid B tier, right? It does what it says it does, and it does it just fine. It's also another one of those boons that can lead to Winter Harvest, which is the the legendary for Demeter, so that's good. That's something to think about. All right. Okay. Last Stand. Last Stand is the other boon that gives you an extra Death Defiance. An extra Death Defiance, and this one gives you more health when you lose a Death Defiance. This one is like Deathless Stand in that it gives you an extra Death Defiance, but it's better, right? I think it's a fair amount better, because the amount that you're healed, it's normally 50% of your health total, and with Last Stand it increases it, and that's just very, very valuable. And especially if you've got like all three of your Death Defiances left in a boss fight, that's a lot more health that you're ending up getting. It's great. It's great. Yeah, Impending Doom and Merciful and Dire Misfortune and Merciful End, all those together, that's a wonderful combo. Okay, Life Affirmation. This one makes it so all the Centaur Hearts and Centaur Souls that you get, it increases your health by more. Any health raising chamber rewards are worth more. So even your darkness. So I'd say that this is a pretty good. It's a high. I'd give it a high B. Let's go low A. Like especially if you get this early, you will get a ton more health. It's a large amount. Okay, and it doesn't affect Thanatos encounters, and it doesn't not items bought from Charon's shop. So I guess that makes sense that it wouldn't be the Centaur Souls, because you only get those if you get them from a shop, right? You don't pick those up anywhere else. But I'm pretty sure it gives you, I think I remember it giving you like 7, you get 7 health from darkness instead of 5. I'll have to, that's a question mark, but that's you know, secondary. I think it still justifies low A tier. Lightning Reflexes. You get a lightning bolt if you dash soon after an enemy attacks you. So if you're dodging an enemy attack, when you dash, it'll do a little lightning bolt. I'd say this is like low B tier, maybe high C tier. You know, if you're trying to get more lightning bolts, it's a way to get more lightning bolts, but I don't notice it doing a lot of damage. It is a higher damage lightning bolt. Oh no, it starts at 20, so it's not even that high. Dash just before getting hit versus Thunder Dash. Yeah, so it's more damage than Thunder Dash, but Thunder Dash always goes off. So yeah, I'll stick it here low B tier. I'm okay with that. Okay, Nourished Soul. Nourished Soul, it heals you for a flat amount, and it makes all future healing more effective. This is pretty good, but I wouldn't say it overperforms. I'd say it's probably in a similar vein to like After Party. If you find it early, it's nice. I certainly don't go after it. It can save you if you're in a bad way and you're near death. You can take Nourished Soul and save your Death Defiance, right? But yeah, I don't think it performs super high. It's just fine. All right, Nourished Soul. Thank you. Numbing Sensation. Numbing Sensation. I have to check what Numbing Sensation does. Makes enemies move slower. I don't get excited about that one. I'll put that one lower C tier. Slowing enemies is good, but you're probably better off just slowing enemies with Demeter, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's nice to have enemies slow down a little bit if you don't have Demeter in your pool. You might not. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about slowing enemies. It just doesn't seem to be that amazing. But I guess if you have an epic one, that's like 30% movement speed reduction. That's a lot. Okay. Ocean's Bounty. If I'm not mistaken, this is the one that makes your darkness and your gold more for the rest of the run. Yeah, from rewards. This is a great boon, I think, because gold does a lot in this game. It's very, very beneficial. And if you're new to the game and you're trying to build up your darkness, it's a great way to farm more darkness. So it's definitely got utility both for your account, right? Like your account bonuses and the run itself. Peer pressure. Peer pressure. Your hangover travels to other contaminates nearby foes every 4 seconds. This is a terrible boon. I've talked about this many, many times. 4 seconds is an eternity. If your enemy, I don't know, and just the fact that it has its own like amount of hangover damage. It's not like it transfers over your highest hangover damage to a new enemy, right? Like say you had like you'd pumped up your special hangover damage to huge amounts, and then it would transfer every 4 seconds. Maybe I could see that being okay, right? Like you know, maybe in the Lerny fight, the Hydra fight, you're like transferring it around, and it's there's some benefit there. But otherwise, it really doesn't ever go off. It's a waste. It's a waste. Don't do it. Don't do it. I think I'm gonna put that in D tier. I think it's empty inside. I don't know if it's better or worse. I think it's about the same. Just not very exciting. There's your second D tier boon, friends. There it is. Positive Outlook. Positive Outlook. That's the one that if you reach 40% damage, so if you only have 40% of your health left, then you have damage reduction from that point on. So at common, it's 10% damage resistance all the way up to 25, but really 20. Like, what's this going to replace? What's Positive Outlook going to replace to get you a heroic version? Or I guess you could get with like Rare Crop or anyway. Usually it's going to be somewhere between 10 and 20% damage resistance. It's not nothing, right? I mean, it's like a less beneficial Aphrodite curse. I'll put it in C tier. It's fine. It's not. It slightly underperforms, I think. Premium Vintage, you get a nectar, and from this point on, your nectars give you bonus health. I believe at base rarity it's 20 all the way up to 30. Most likely it'll be up to 30. Can't be upgraded via palms, but it's another way to get bonus health. I think that this is affected by life affirmation as well. I like Premium Vintage. I think if I'm offered Premium Vintage, I often will take it, but I wouldn't say that it overperforms. Nectars are great because getting more nectar, like if you were to find this in a run early on in your account, you want as many nectars as you can, right? Like you always want to have a nectar available to give to a new god that you find so that you get their keepsake. So it's got, good benefit at the beginning. It also gives you the health, early on. If you find it early enough, like if you find it in Tartarus, then you can get lots of nectars in that run, and that might give you a lot of bonus health. I wouldn't say it's ever given me like a ton of bonus health, but it's a non-negligible amount of health that it gives you. So there you go. Take it for what it's worth. Okay, pressure points. Pressure points, I think, is an S tier boon. It gives any source of damage has a chance to crit. I believe base rarity, I think it's 2%. All the way up to epic is 4%. And you can palm it. So every palm that you add to it increases the crit chance by a percentage point. It's a lot. I think pressure points is an amazing way to boost the damage of any run, and then if you combine it with Hunter's Mark as well, super cool. Very, very good boon. You always want to grab this one. It won't let you down, you know? It won't let you down. It's very, very good. I'm just looking at these legendary boons and want to put them in the right place. Okay, put them in their place. Let's do Proud Bearing now. Okay, so Proud Bearing is another one of those boons that makes it so you get call charge. So your that charge at the bottom of your health bar or underneath your health bar, it increases the charge of that. So when you enter a room, you start with some charge. This is a really cool boon if you have certain calls, like Poseidon's Call plus Proud Bearing. You can pretty much just breeze through sticks if you've got Proud Bearing and Poseidon's Aid in the same run. Super cool combination. I think it's one of my favorite call combinations, and I love Poseidon's Aid. It's such a fun one. So I think it's high B tier. It does a nice thing. It's very situational though, situationally beneficial. It doesn't have like a lasting effect like Clouded Judgment does, but it doesn't require you to take damage either. Boiling Blood. Quick Favor makes it so your call charges up passively. It's very slow though. 1% every 2 seconds, and then on rare it's 1% every 1.5 seconds, and then on epic it's 1% every 1 second. So what I thought was common was actually that's the epic version of it. Now that, I think if you got it to heroic, that's significant, right? That's your gut starting to get up there. But I think that this is the worst of the call charge boosting effects. I'd put it in low C tier. I don't get excited about that one. It's just too slow. It adds a little bit. Sure, it charged faster. It did. It charged a little bit faster, but not in any significant way. This isn't tied to anything else that you do. It's not tied to how many crits you get. It's just how many seconds have ticked by in your run. So I don't like that one. I don't like that one very much. Quick Recovery. This lets you heal if you dash soon after you took damage. Interesting fact about Quick Recovery: if you have the Pact of Punishment Lasting Consequences, which reduces your total healing, Quick Recovery is not affected by that. So you still can heal yourself if you have Quick Recovery. I still wouldn't say that I go after Quick Recovery. I don't get excited about seeing Quick Recovery. It does restore some health if you dash after you take the damage. It's like a form of damage reduction if you happen to dash immediately after you take the damage, which, usually you're dashing right after you take the damage, so you're probably getting a decent amount of healing. I haven't run the numbers. I don't know exactly how much damage it's recovering, but I would say Hermes is one of those gods where there are certain Hermes boons that if you can find if you can find it, and if maybe it's slightly rare, it's so beneficial. This is one of those that's not super beneficial, sort of like Quick Favor. Doesn't really do a whole lot. I'm gonna put it's a little higher than Quick Favor. Quick Reload. Let's see here. We talked about Flurry Cast, Auto Reload versus Quick Reload. Okay. Yeah, so one of these is gonna be when you have Stygian Soul, and the other is going to be for Infernal Soul. Quick Reload, if you have, I think it's Quick Reload. I should check this though. Quick Reload Okay, quick reload. I'm gonna have to swap those then. I thought the quick reload was the other. And auto reload. You regenerate stones faster. My bad. My bad. Okay, so quick reload goes down where auto reload should be. Auto reload means your cast stones recharge faster. This is incredibly useful for a cast build. If you've got, I believe it's Stygian Soul, which is the one where your cast stones, you know, recharge instead of like you having to pick up the stones. This is huge for a cast build. I mean, this could be, I don't know, this could even be higher. It's super, super important. Super, super nice to have. If you get like a rare auto reload and you've got multiple cast stones that you've gotten from Chaos or from Artemis, you can like do really nice amounts of damage with auto reload because you keep casting over and over again. You don't have to wait for anything that just keeps coming back automatically. Very, very nice. Sorry about that. Got those two mixed up. Okay. Rare crop. Rare crop is the one that if it's a normal rarity, it boosts, it increases the rarity of 1 boon. At medium rarity, it increases the rarity of 2 boons over time. It's a fun one. I mean, we all enjoy seeing rare crop. It's one of those ones that chat gets excited about. You know, you found rare crop. Maybe it'll hit that boon that we were disappointed that it wasn't as high rarity, and this way it can be a higher rarity. It's exciting, right? I'm gonna put it low A tier. I think it does have nice benefit. People overestimate the benefit of rarity. It's usually not as important as like palms. Like if you just put a few palms on some boons, which is why like palm porridge is better than the other things that Eurydice offers in her little shop. But it's still good. It's still fun. I like it. I take it fairly often. I get excited about it. But I don't know that the benefit is as high as our brains trick us into thinking that it is. If that makes any sense. Ravenous Will. Oh gosh, I don't remember. I don't remember what Ravenous Will does. Ravenous Will. While you have no cast stones, take 10% less damage and deal more damage. This is a good one if you've got, think about that. No, it's better if you don't have Stygian Soul, if you have Infernal Soul, so you don't have to pick up, you can just leave the palms on the ground somewhere, and then you just have these bonuses. So yeah, it's good for Infernal Soul. I like it. It's another one that's like, yeah, a little bit of damage reduction, a little bit of bonus damage. I'll put it in A tier. I think that's slightly overperforms compared to other things. All right, Razor Shoals. Razor Shoals, I still get confused about sometimes. So you deal, it's the Poseidon Curse, okay, and it does damage over time, but it still feels like sometimes it's based on how much an enemy moves. So it does damage every 0.2 seconds, which is actually really fast. That's a very fast ticking of damage, but I don't know. It used to be, and this is just going back, and this is my confusion, because when I started playing the game, it was all based on how much the enemy moved, and then they changed it to just be 0.2 seconds. But it still feels like when an enemy runs across the screen, it does more damage to them. Am I wrong about that? Does anyone else feel like it does? Regardless, it's the curse that Poseidon offers. It's pretty good damage, right? Like if you think about that, that's 50 damage a second on common, and then it's 100 damage a second potentially on epic. Like, yeah, that's pretty good. It's a good one. We're gonna put it. I'll put it low, high B tier. Put it high B tier. It's nice to have. It's always nice to have a curse. It's nice to have it if you are looking for privilege status and you need another curse. Rip Current. Rip Current, you need Poseidon's Call for, and it increases the duration of Poseidon's Call, and it sucks enemies in. This is a high A tier boon, I think. If you have Poseidon's Call and you see Rip Current, it's so easy. I mean, that's such a no-brainer choice to slap Rip Current on. It's gonna feel great. It's gonna feel real great. Yeah. So I think Rip Current is super solid. You should use it. You should use Poseidon's Aid first of all. You're probably not using Poseidon's Aid enough. Let's start with that, and then you should grab Rip Current. I don't know if I get excited about a boon more than I do about Rip Current, like at least not in this class of boons. All right, Rush Delivery. This is the second half of the Wombo combo. Anytime you have increased movement speed, for any reason, you have a chance of finding Rush Delivery, which increases your damage based on your attack speed or movement speed, starting at 50% of the movement speed. So if I found a greater haste, and so I'm running 20% faster all the time in the game, and then I found a epic Rush Delivery, then I would just do 20% bonus damage all the time. If I found a normal Rush Delivery, I would do half of that, so 10% bonus damage all the time, more. This applies to any movement speed increase. So remember how we talked about Hyper Sprint? You get like 100% increased movement speed for a second or two. It works with Rush Delivery. So you get these two together, suddenly your dash attacks are dealing a lot more damage. At minimum, it's 50%, and it might be 100% bonus damage just from these two boons together if you get a rare Rush Delivery, or an epic Rush Delivery, I should say. Huge damage boost. Huge damage boost. Okay. Is it S tier though? I think I'm gonna put it high A tier. It's hard to find. It's a rare thing. It doesn't provide anything beyond just damage, and if you only have a little bit of increased movement speed, it's a nice damage boost. It's good. It overperforms, but I wouldn't say it's S tier. It's not S tier yet. It's a great boon. I like it a lot. It's a great one. Running into a lot of duo boons. Okay. Second Wind. Okay, so Second Wind, when you use your call, you get some movement speed boost for, I think it's 20 seconds. You get movement speed boosted and your dodge chance boosted for I think it's 20 seconds. And a pretty decent amount of movement speed and dodge chance. Yeah, so it starts at 30%. Well,
do you remember to eat lunch?
So I think that's a pretty decent one. It's a flat 10 seconds is a long time. It probably overperforms slightly for movement speed and dodge. Like dodge is a really nice. Getting 30% dodge for 10 seconds is a lot, I'd say. That's a lot. So that being said, let's jump to Side Hustle. Side Hustle, you get a certain amount of money at the end of every chamber. Starting at 10 all the way up to 16 or 19 if you somehow manage to get it to heroic. It's a lot of gold. It's a lot of gold, and it adds up very nicely. I take it fairly often. I'd say it's an A tier. It's an A tier boon for sure. It's a lot of gold. It ends up being a lot of gold.
Is my phone in here?
We have done those ones. Duo boons. Okay, Snowburst. Snowburst, when you cast, you have this little explosion, and you shoot out a cast, and it says an explosion of ice. It applies chill, and it does a bit of damage. I think on high rarity, it does a fairly decent amount of damage. Yeah, so 60 damage, and then as you palm it up, it ends up doing. It can do quite a bit. This is a cool boon. I wouldn't say I go after it. There's one build that I like that I go after it with, and that's when you've got Crush Shot. So Aphrodite's cast, and then you grab Snowburst, and then you're getting privilege status like immediately with one ability. And then because Aphrodite's cast does so much damage, it's a very, very nice bursty build. Very, very nice. Yeah, I like Snowburst, but I wouldn't say that it's it's bonkers. Most of the time when I see it, it's like, oh, yeah, sure. Well, we'll take Still Burst. I think it sits right in the middle. B is just fine. B is just fine for that one. All right, we're getting to the bottom of these, my friends. Okay, Static Discharge. Static Discharge is Zeus's curse, and it does a certain amount of damage when an enemy attacks. If they've been hit by lightning, some form of lightning, they'll have the curse on them. When they attack, it deals the damage. Fun fact, it deals the damage before the attack actually goes off. I don't know if it goes off, if the damage is dealt before like a projectile is sent out, but like a lot of times, like if you're about to get swung at by a melee enemy, if they've got Static Discharge and it kills them, they'll die before the swing hits you. So it's slightly defensive. Very slightly defensive. But this, usually there's a lot of damage on Static Discharge. And if you've got a lightning build, it's super good. I'd put it up here. It's a very, very good curse. As far as the curses that you have to get a boon for, it's one of the better ones, because it just does a lot of damage. All right, Storm Lightning. Storm Lightning is like it's in the same vein as Double Strike and High Voltage. Basically, your Chain Lightning, so that would be your attack or your Zeus cast, will bounce additional times. And the numbers are kind of weird on this. Like, the numbers are really high. You get a lot of bounces, a lot more bounces. Let's take a look at them. But have I ever seen them bounce the full amount? So on common, you get +2 bounces, 3, 4, or 6. Okay. Electric Shot gains 3, 6, or 9 jumps from this boon instead. So, okay, so it's more bounces. But my understanding, I think, is that like Electric Shot, it has to bounce, so it bounces 5 times. It doesn't just bounce between 2 enemies. It doesn't just bounce between the same 2 enemies over and over again. As far as I've seen, I could be wrong about that, but I haven't seen that before. It usually has to have a third person to bounce to. I don't know that I've ever seen them get up to 5 bounces. I don't know. Do you guys see this happen very often? Usually when I get Storm Lightning, it's like, I think this is going to be amazing. Like if it's an epic one, like I'm going to get 6 extra bounces. It's just going to kill the whole room. But it never seems to work that way. Never seems to work that way. So I guess I'll put this in B. I'll keep this in B. It's nice because it opens up the path towards Splitting Bolt, which we'll talk about in a bit. That's a legendary from Zeus. But I don't get super excited about it. If I see it, I'll often take it just to open up the chance for Splitting Bolt. But I don't think that all of those bounces are happening. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just not noticing. But it doesn't seem like those bounces are actually happening. Okay, Strong Drink. Let's keep moving. We gotta keep moving, otherwise we're gonna be stuck here in this chair forever. Strong Drink. It makes the fountains that you get to heal you completely, and it increases all of your damage by a certain percentage. So if you find Strong Drink in Tartarus, you can potentially get that. If you get a fountain, if you get an additional fountain in every zone, let's see, that's 2, 4, 6, 8. No, 7. I think 7 uses of that. I'm not being very clear here, but you get bonus damage for every fountain you get to. You can get potentially 7 fountains, if I'm not mistaken. So if you get 7 fountains, it's 7 times, what's the maximum that you can find? You can get a lot. Yeah, so 5%, so 35% bonus damage on all of your damage. It's very nice. So the combination of it restoring all of your health at a fountain and it giving you bonus damage, I think makes this a very, very strong, boon. I think so. I think it's got to go in like mid A tier. Yeah, I think it should go there. It's a nice place for it. Sunken Treasure. This is the one that just gives you some health, some darkness, some money. What else does it give you? Sunken treasure. What else does it give you? It gives you a few different things. I think if you find a more rare one, it could even give you a diamond, if I'm not mistaken, which diamonds are hard to come by, right? Yes. Okay, yeah, so common, there's a chance for obols, health, darkness, there's a chance for nectar, there's a chance for diamond, and then that chance just increases as it goes up. So you can get a diamond, but really what you're going to do is get some gems, some darkness, money, and health. And that's healing, not bonus health, not health increase. Yeah. Let's see here. I think Sunken Treasure, I'm just going to stick that in B tier. It's like it gives you a little boost, but it's not a lasting benefit. I suppose if you're early on with your account, you're trying to get more darkness and gems, and that's a way to get more darkness and gems. So B tier is fine. I think we'll stick with that. All right, support fire. Support fire shoots out an arrow for every attack or special or cast that you do, which is very good. It's nice bonus damage. The trouble with support fire is that sometimes those arrows, they kind of have to fly in this like weird loop pattern, and if it loops and it hits a wall, it stops. So in smaller areas, sometimes your support fires don't get to the target, but it's a really cool effect. It looks good when it's hitting the enemy. It does a lot of damage. I think it starts at like 10 damage at base rarity, and you can palm it for more. I think support fire is very, very cool. I put that in A tier. Support fire is another one that can open up the chance for Artemis's legendary fully loaded. Fun fact there. Yeah, very, very good. A tier, at least, maybe high A tier. It's not, I used to think that this was just like an easy pickup every single time, but I would say that because it takes so long sometimes for the arrow to get to enemies, like even though you've got like 5 of them flying through the air, the enemy either dies first or it hits a wall and it doesn't all go through, and yeah. All right, sure footing. Sure footing reduces the amount of trap damage you take. For someone like me, who I step on every trap, it's just a point I try to make a point of stepping on every trap in every room. Sure footing really helps. At epic rarity, it's 90% reduced damage. One of the reasons why I like sure footing is because the urns in the Hades end chamber, they're traps. So sure footing reduces that damage a heck of a lot. If you've got something like heightened security, sure footing basically makes that a free point of heat. But man, I hate heightened security so much. So because, as I said, I usually end up taking a lot of trap damage in a run. But I'd say it's high B tier. It does what it's supposed to do, and it does it pretty well. Okay, sure footing. Let's keep going. Sweet surrender. Another forgettable Aphrodite secondary boon. What does sweet surrender do? Sweet Aphrodite. What does it do? Weak afflicted foes are more susceptible to damage. Okay, this one actually has a fair amount of benefit. So not only is their damage reduced when they're cursed, but now with this, they receive more damage. I'd say this is mid B tier. That's actually a decent one of all of them. That's one that I will actually happily take. Swift Flourish, maybe not fair to include Swift Flourish in this category of boons, but increases your special speed for certain weapons. Really nice to have a faster special, especially like Chiron bow is one, or any bow, I suppose. The bow's special often is very slow, and you're stuck in place for the duration of the spray. So Swift Flourish, I almost always like to find Swift Flourish for any bow build where I'm using the special. but I wouldn't say that I care too much about speeding up, and it's a low amount. So it starts at 10%, and I think it goes up to like, is it like 10, 15, 20? It's not, no, it's 10, 20, it's 10, 20, 30 for the rarities. So it does speed it up a lot. Trying to think of other situations where a lot of times, like with the shield throw, it's not like Swift Flourish doesn't make the shield go out faster. I think it maybe makes the travel time a little bit faster, but like your attack speed doesn't actually increase as much as you think it might. Whereas like for the sword, Swift Flourish does a lot for the because it's like that whole animation is sped up. For what other ones? The fist, the special goes faster. For like the rail though, like the bomb, maybe the bomb flies faster, but it doesn't feel a whole lot faster, I guess. So Swift Flourish, I'll put it in B tier. It's good, but I don't, unless you're using the bow, it's not something that I'm especially looking for. I'd be interested to hear your comments. Yeah, they're kind of like tier 1 boons, but they're not, because you can get them in addition to tier 1 boons, right? You get a tier 1 boon. Normally that precludes you from getting any other of those tier 1 boons, but with Hermes boons, they are secondary. They are an addition. You can get both Swift Flourish and the other flourish. I don't know. It's a gray area. But this is the choices. This is the choice that I've made. I'd say Swift Strike is more like A tier, because so many weapons, their attack, if their attack is faster, it's always better. It's always better. So sword is better, spear is better, fists are better, rail is better. I think shield is better. Maybe the only one that doesn't feel like you're getting a huge amount of increased attack speed is like maybe the bow, because of the charge up. So Swift Strike is very good. In fact, I probably should put it up even higher. It's very, very nice to have, even if it's only like 10%. Typhoon's Fury, your wall slams do more damage. So this is like some numbers that just fly. Like when you're playing with Poseidon, and if you look real close, you can see what those numbers are, and sometimes they get pretty high, like if you're slamming enemies against the wall. And so this increases it by like a lot. Like it doubles it and triples it and quadruples it. It can be very, very high, but it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to notice when this damage is going off, but I think it's probably better than you think it is. I'm gonna put it in low A tier. I think it does more than you think it does. For that, if that makes any sense. It's a decent amount of damage, especially in like small areas, and if you're knocking back with Poseidon a lot, or even, it doesn't even have to be a Poseidon boon, like any like the shield attack, even if you don't have Poseidon on the attack, if you knock an enemy back and hit them against the wall, Typhoon's Fury will do more damage, if that makes sense. Urge to Kill. Urge to Kill is like a percentage boost to your attack, special, and cast from our good pal Ares. It's kind of a small amount, but it applies to all of it. A percentage boost. I think it's one of those boons that's like, it's balanced. It's a B tier. It does what it says it does. It does some bonus damage, right? I don't know whenever I see Urge to Kill, it gives you that small 10 to 20% bonus damage, and I think, great. Or no, it's not even 20. It's like up to like each rarity increases it by just a very small amount. It feels a little bit underwhelming. It feels a little bit underwhelming, but I think it just does what it says it does, and it's fine. The rarity looks like it should be more impressive than it is, I guess, is kind of what I think about that. All right, Wave of Despair. Wave of Despair is Aphrodite's revenge boon. So it applies her curse. It's a small area around you. Like, I think it's very similar to Ares' revenge effect, that size, I guess. So it's decent. It does some decent damage. It applies her curse, which is good. And it does decent damage too, in the sense that if you get hit very quickly, it'll send out wave after wave and do damage. I'd say, like, it's maybe the third most damage. I think Heaven's Vengeance does the most damage and can hit all the way across the room to any a ranged enemy. This one is more area based, so it has to be standing next to you, but it can fire off very quickly. So it's better than Curse of Vengeance. I think it might even do more damage than Curse of Vengeance if you take lots of hits. Wave of Despair will do more damage, but typically you don't want to get hit multiple times, so Curse of Vengeance is maybe slightly better. But you got the damage reduction. So Wave of Despair, sure, that's where it'll go. Wave Pounding. Your knockback effects deal bonus damage to bosses. I think this is B tier. I'll take it occasionally, but I don't get super excited about it. Zeus's Aid. Okay, is that all the tier 2 boons? Are we moving on from tier 2 boons to I think we're doing tier 1 boons next. And we can go through these kind of quickly because there's much less explaining required for these ones, I think. All right, we'll start with the aids. And I've done videos about the aid, about the different aid possibilities before. Okay, Aphrodite's Aid. Whew. Okay, let's change this though. Now we're in the tier 1 boons. Aphrodite's Aid. If it's not fully charged, it charms an enemy to fight for you for a certain number of seconds. It's pretty short. It's not completely negligible, but it's almost negligible, the amount of time that they fight for you. It is nice because it interrupts attacks. So if an enemy is attacking you and you use the call, they will stop their attack. But really, in my mind, the main use for Aphrodite's Aid is waiting for it to charge up fully, and then it does a big chunk of damage, like thousands and thousands of damage. It's all right. I'd say this is a mid-range one. It's useful. I wouldn't say it's that amazing, but it's useful. It's got its uses. Let's move on to Ares' Aid. Ares' Aid turns you into a Blade Rift that moves very slowly, and it deals damage. It deals probably a very decent amount of damage, but you move very slowly, and it's a very short-lasting effect. I think this is a low C tier. Honestly, I don't love Ares' Aid. I really don't. I feel like I always end up out of place when I'm at the end of it. So you are invulnerable for the duration, which is nice, but then you come out of it, and if you come out at the wrong moment, they're swinging, and you take a bunch of hits, and there's almost you have no reaction time because it just happens fast. I'm not very good with it. Probably it's a skill thing, probably, but I'm still ranking it low because this is my video. This is my stream. Okay, Artemis Aid. I kind of think of it the same way I think of Aphrodite's Aid. It does some damage if you just do a single charge, like before it's fully charged. But if you wait till it's fully charged, then it does a huge chunk of damage. Very, very big. If you palm it up, it does even more damage. I like it pretty well, but I look at it kind of the same as I look at Aphrodite's Aid. It's like, it's got some marginal benefit. It's good. It's fine. Athena's Aid. Athena's Aid is actually one that before I started doing high heat runs, I didn't really think much of Athena's Aid, but the fact that you get invulnerability, and if you palm it, like, you get a lot of invulnerability from Athena's Aid. Like, it's a long period of time that you're invulnerable with Athena's Aid. So if you're in a tight spot, or if Cerberus, Hades just summons Cerberus, Athena's Aid is great for that situation. You're invulnerable. Or if you're out of position and an enemy is attacking and you don't have any more dashes, you can pop Athena's Aid and you can just attack enemies without worrying about it. I think that this is very, very good, and the fact that you get a lot of extra seconds when you palm it makes it better than you think it is. It's more beneficial than you think it is. It's like a get out of jail free card. Aphrodite's Aid kind of does the same, a similar idea in charming an enemy, but this is like nothing can touch you. Nothing can touch you while Athena's Aid is up. It's pretty great. Demeter's Aid. Demeter's Aid is probably the worst one. It creates a little circle of a storm that deals some damage. It applies some chill, but the area starts small, and as time goes on, it gets bigger and bigger. I'd say I still like it slightly more than Ares Aid. It does apply chill, so it slows enemies down and it can get you privileged status. But I think it's pretty poor. C tier. Poseidon's Aid. Poseidon's Aid is more fun than a barrel of monkeys. It's more fun. It's maybe one of the most fun boons. Like, it may not deal the best damage, but it turns you into a surfer and you're surfing around. And you hear that, like, you hear the Beach Boys all of a sudden. I'm gonna put it up here in A tier. It's super, super good. It's another get out of jail free card. Instead of being able to attack though, you move around and you deal damage. With Rip Current, it's so good. It's so much fun. If you get Rip Current, Poseidon's Aid, and Proud Bearing, then the small rooms of Styx it will do nothing. You will not need to worry ever, because you just push that button immediately when you walk into a room. It's fantastic. Yeah, Poseidon's Aid, super good. Dionysus Aid is another really good one. It provides damage even with only one charge of the call. It does 5 stacks of poison, and it like creates these little like cloud bursts, and so it does area damage. It applies the hangover on an area of enemies. I'm gonna put this up here, probably right next to Poseidon's Aid. It's really, really good. Maybe even better than Poseidon's Aid. It's not as fun as Poseidon's Aid, but it's really, really good. Zeus Aid, almost the same story as Dionysus Aid. It's good. It's good. You don't have to fully charge it for it to be really good. It applies all of the things that Zeus Lightning can apply, which when Zeus builds get out of control, it feels incredible compared to other god builds, right? Like, you know when you have a Zeus build, because lightning is everywhere and it's doing so much damage. It's super, super fun. I'd say it's the best. It's the best of the different calls that you have available. Zeus and Dionysus and Poseidon. I like them all together. Then Athena, then Aphrodite, then Artemis, then Demeter, and Ares. Yeah. Yes. That's how I feel about that. Okay. Let's move on to the flourishes. Now, these are going to be really fast because there's not a whole lot of difference. It's basically what is their secondary effect. I'll talk a little bit about damage because the damage is different. So Athena is lower damage, but it provides deflect, so it's a very defensive version of a special. I wouldn't say I use Athena's special. I grab Athena's special because I have to, because for the build, like if I'm trying to get Merciful End, I need Divine Flourish to be able to find Merciful End, but then I'm really just going to be using the dash to apply the Merciful End effect. So it's probably low B tier. The damage is not great. It is defensive. Let's even put it. Rather than keeping everything in that 80% range, let's drop it down. I don't think it's that great. It's good because it activates certain things. Drunken Flourish. If you have a build that applies a lot of stacks of hangover quickly, it's good. Like with Chiron Bow, Drunken Flourish is fantastic. But there aren't very many weapons that apply special quickly, right? Like, what is there? The spear doesn't, the shield doesn't, the sword doesn't, the rail doesn't, the fist could, Demeter, right? Demeter, that applies 5 stacks immediately, sure, but it's just slow. So I don't think it's the best on the special. The attack is much better because you can put those stacks of hangover much more quickly. So I'm gonna put it at low B tier. It still has its uses. Obviously with Chiron Bow, it's amazing. Well, that's my caveat. Okay, Frost Flourish. Kind of a similar story. It's better damage, right? The percentages of Frost Flourish are much better than Divine Flourish. You're not trying to get more stacks of chill with your special, because same problem as the Dionysus Flourish. There's not very many specials that do quick quick damage, right? Rama bow, Chiron bow, sure. But the damage percentages are slightly better. So it is good for like a burst. You're not worried about the chill though. It's just one stack of chills all you're getting. No, I think this is where it lies. It's a B tier one. It's higher damage, but yeah, it's fine. Deadly Flourish. Deadly Flourish, on the other hand, goes up in A tier. And the reason is that there's so many specials benefit incredibly from a crit because they already do high damage, right? Like any weapon, maybe short of like the bow or the shield, they have very high damage specials, and so getting a crit on those feels very good. It's very nice to have your special crit and deal lots of damage. The base damage percentage is not awesome, but you're not thinking about your base damage on Artemis boons. You're thinking about the crit damage, and so that's why it's much higher. So A tier for that. Moving on. Thunder Flourish. Or no, let's go with Tempest Flourish. So Tempest Flourish, you're getting knockback effects, which can be very, very good. So like knockback is kind of an interesting one. The damage numbers are decent. I'd say they're better than Athena's, and you get knockback, which can be very, very nice because then you got knockback, which can activate some duo boons, but you can also slam enemies against other enemies or against the wall. So I think it's pretty good. I'd say it's probably in B tier. It feels good. It feels good to have a nice big slam that knocks back, yeah, from the top, right? Okay, and then Thunder Flourish. Thunder Flourish is maybe, other than a few builds, Thunder Flourish isn't that amazing. Like on Zeus Shield, Thunder Flourish is great. On what else? Chiron bow, and again, once again, things that have like fast hits can get multiple lightning strikes off, but like there's no base improvement to the skill itself. So if you have a big uppercut with your fist weapon, it's just one additional lightning bolt, right? So it's like 40 damage or whatever it is. It's not a huge amount. So I'd say Thunder Flourish is it's lower down there, except for a few weapons obviously that it's very, very good on. Yeah, B tier. Got some good, but mostly it's not that amazing. Okay, we've got this attack that's off in the middle of nowhere. Okay, and then Heartbreak Flourish. Is this the last special? I think it is. Heartbreak Flourish it's got good damage, so it's good for most Weapons. Let's see, where did I put Frost Flourish? I'm gonna put it above Frost Flourish a little bit. It's good. It's probably high B tier. Once again, hard to compare it against all these other boons because it's such a different effect, but it's not quite as good as Deadly Flourish. Like usually you'd rather have a Deadly Flourish on than Heartbreak Flourish, but it provides that nice curse from Aphrodite. All right, Curse of Pain. Curse of Pain is Ares special, and it applies a lot of doom damage, so the curse damage. It's nice for any effect that hits a large group of enemies, so like the shield in particular. This is like my favorite beginner's build, is you take the shield and you put Curse of Pain on the special, and then suddenly you have a way of just dealing hundreds of damage to however many enemies the shield bumps into, right? It's very, very nice for that effect. I might even go so far as to put it in A tier, because like a lot of the specials are area, and so you hit a large area of enemies, you get that doom damage. I don't know, it's kind of one of those strange ones. You want to hit a lot of enemies with it to get the curse on a lot of enemies. I don't know, maybe I'll put it right next to Heartbreak Flourish. I think of it the same way sometimes. Okay, moving on to attacks. I'm going through these tier 1 boons quickly, and that's on purpose because there's not a whole lot to say about them, because you get into like which weapon are you using. It makes it very, very difficult. Frost Strike, it's percentage based, so very much reliant on the weapon damage rather than attack speed. I wouldn't say I pick it all that often. Frost Strike, the damage it's a good percentage. It does a decent job, but chill, yeah, it's nice to get multiple stacks of chill, but you don't need to apply stacks of chill super fast. Like, that's not gonna make or break anything. All right, Divine Strike. Divine Strike is nice. It does medium damage. It does less damage than Demeter, but a lot of times with your attacks, you're deflecting. You're using your attack a lot, and so you're deflecting a lot with a lot of builds. So I think Divine Strike gets like high B. Obviously, for some builds, it's essential. And once again, it's hard to justify all of it, but Divine Strike is useful for its deflect in a lot of situations because you're using your attack so much, so you're deflecting a lot. So it's defensive, provides that damage. Yeah, Deadly Strike. Deadly Strike goes up here with Deadly Flourish. Artemis boons. That, I mean, crit is so much additional damage when it happens. Burst is very nice to have. Once again, obviously it depends on the weapon. Like, it's not amazing to put on like the Demeter Fist, right? Because you're just really slow or really fast, little tiny attacks. So you're like, I'm critting for 40 damage here. You know, that's nice, but it's really nice when you get like a big, big hit from the bow or you know, something. It's good, but there are more cases where Deadly Strike is useful. Okay, Curse of Agony. Curse of Agony is good. You know, it's not based on the weapon damage. So the weapon damage occurs and the curse is separate from that. Which, yeah, you have to think about it differently in your mind from some of the other ones. I'm gonna just keep it in B tier, I think, because it does less damage than the Curse of Pain does. The special version of it does less damage than that. However, obviously with like Merciful End, if you get Curse of Agony and Divine Dash, which we'll talk about, then that combination is busted because you just dash attack and each time you dash attack, you're getting the Curse of Agony damage. Okay, Heartbreak Strike. I'll put that down a little bit lower. It's good damage, and it's, you know, it's middle of the road. I don't ever mind having Heartbreak Flourish or Heartbreak Strike because it's going to be good damage. It's going to give that damage reduction, and on these attacks where you're getting you're just using them a lot, it's going to apply it on a lot of enemies. But yeah, it's good. It's good. Okay, Drunken Strike. We've got to think about Drunken Strike on a fast weapon, right? You wouldn't use Drunken Strike on a slow weapon like the bow. That would be kind of a waste. But if you were to use it on the fist or the rail, it's very, very nice. It's a very, very nice boon. So I would say, if you're thinking about it that way, it's right up here with these nice, you know, these good high B tier attacks and specials. Lightning Strike. It's probably like Drunken Strike, except we're going to put it up. I'm going to put it up into A tier because Lightning Strike, it hits multiple enemies. It's the best option if you want to attack quickly. If you're attacking quickly, Lightning Strike is huge. Obviously, a slow attacking weapon that's not very good. But if it's fast, Lightning Strike is your best option. There's nothing better. And especially if you get the legendary, then it just gets crazy. Gets crazy good. All right. Tempest Strike. The big problem with like Poseidon on attack is a lot of times the attacks are like you're wanting to be close range with them, but the knockback puts them out of range a lot of times. So like sword, sometimes Tempest Strike is bad with the sword or with the fist or some other situations. So unless you're like pounding them against, you've got the wall there, you're getting the wall hit damage. Tempest Strike is kind of mediocre. The damage is not great. It's not as good as like Aphrodite or Demeter. On the right build though, it's great, and there's huge knockback. Like on the shield attack, it feels pretty good because the knockback is even bigger. You know? We talked about all the attacks. Let's talk about the casts. I've talked about the casts many times. Failing Shot, there's really only one duo boon that goes with it. It does a little area. It's very slow. It's a very slow cast, so it doesn't get to enemies quickly. You kind of have to either be close to them, but it does deflect, and it's like it's got a big hitbox, so it deflects everything on its way. It's good, but I'd say it's a B tier. It's a B tier cast. Slicing Shot. Slicing Shot is good. It pierces through enemies, travels slowly, big area damage. If you can get some secondary boons to go with it, like your Engulfing Vortex and your other black metal, and obviously hunting blades, then it gets much better. But I'd say for just a cast on its own, it's in the middle of the road. It does good damage, but a lot of times it goes so slowly that enemies are gone and they move out of the way, or it passes through and it doesn't hit them as much as you want it to. But can get much better with the extra boons that go along with it. Should be noted that Ares Legendary affects all of the blade rifts, and so makes them much better as well. All right, Crystal Beam. Crystal Beam, I go back and forth on this one. It hits a single enemy. It doesn't hit. It can't do damage to more than one enemy each beam. So it's good against bosses because it focuses damage. But the turn radius, or the turning speed of the Crystal Beam without its duo boon is pretty poor. So if you misplace it, if it's shooting the wrong way, if an enemy moves, you're not dealing any more damage. It's just a laser shooting out in the middle of nowhere. So with some additional things, it can be very good. And against a slow moving boss like against against the Hydra, it can be okay. But often it's frustrating to get it set up in the right place. It's a slightly below average cast, I'd say, for that reason. Slightly below average. Crush Shot. Crush Shot, you exchange range on your cast, which, to be fair, a lot of times when someone is doing a build that isn't focused on a cast, their cast is purely about having a little bit of range capability. You lose that with Crush Shot. It's a short range cast, but what you gain is you gain a lot of damage for it. It can hit a large number of enemies, and you have to get close. I think of it like, so if Failing Shot is like you're lobbing a grenade, this is your shotgun, right? And so maybe I can come up with a weapon metaphor for each of these, right? Failing Shot is like lobbing a grenade. This is like throwing a slow-moving lawnmower that mows over things and doesn't stop for anyone. This is like a shotgun blast. This is like a laser that is very slow turning laser. And then we got Trippy Shot. This is your smoke bomb. So if you play Counter-Strike and you throw the smoke grenade, right? It does big burst damage and in a big area. It's lobbed, though. I don't love the lob mechanic very much. It's hard to aim it, and enemies can move out of the blast zone. It leaves behind Festive Fog, which does these little mini staggers on enemies. So it's a kind of a defensive cast as well. You can get a duo boon that adds lightning strikes to the cloud. It's got very good base damage, though. Like, it's a good big burst. It's kind of similar to Failing Shot in that way, I guess. There's more duo boons that impact Trippy Shot, though, and other boons that make Trippy Shot even better. So I'll put it above base. It's probably better than Slicing Shot or Failing Shot. Trippy Shot is really good on Hera bow, where it's like you no longer have the lob mechanic. It just shoots the arrow and then it explodes. Turns your arrows into explosive arrows. There we go. That's what it does. Like in a Rambo, right? Where he screws on the explosive arrow tips and then suddenly... Well, anyway. We've all seen Rambo, haven't we? Yeah? No. Okay, True Shot is like your sniper rifle. You're shooting from way far away. It also pierces shields, which makes it very good. I think the trouble is, like, most of these, they're on their own they do okay, and then you combine them with some other boons and they're great. True Shot is maybe one of the ones that is really good on its own because it pierces shields. It does crit damage, but the crit chance is low. I think it's like 10% for cast. Yeah, 10%. So it's a lower critical chance. Damage is good. Pierces shields. Unblockable. Yeah. It's good. It's a good one. If you want your cast to behave exactly the same as a normal cast, but you also want it to pierce and do more damage and potentially crit, True Shot is your cast. That's the one that you want to go for. Does the exact same thing, but just pierces shields. Okay, Electric Shot does the cast damage and bounces around, dealing damage to a huge area or a big area of enemies. And then obviously it combines with all of the other secondary boons that can affect electric-based attacks, like Storm Lightning. It bounces more. Double Strike doesn't affect it. It can apply all the static discharge on everything, which is great. And then we'll talk about the Zeus Legendary, but this is really good even on its own though. Like you can do a build and use Electric Shot very effectively because it does really good damage and it does it to a larger area, and you can pick up the cast stones as soon as the enemy dies. Whereas some of these you have to wait for the effect to end. It moves very quickly. It's not like sluggish like the Failing Shot is. It's good. It's good. Maybe above Trippy Shot. There. Yeah. I don't know. Flood Shot. Flood Shot makes a big explosion that knocks enemies back. The area is pretty big. I'd say the area is probably the same size as Trippy Shot, but it doesn't do as much damage as Trippy Shot. But you got the knockback. And this is tough. It's tough though because they all are better for certain situations. I think Slicing Shot is you have to be very close to enemies in order for it to work. And it has very low range. Enemies can move out of the way. It has a lot of things that can make it better. True Shot doesn't need anything. It does what it does immediately. It pierces shields. It does high damage. It can crit. Don't need anything for that. Crush Shot, kind of the same, except it's short range, but it's fast. Very fast. Hits almost immediately once you send out the cast. So short range, but you don't have to wait. It gets there immediately. Failing Shot is slow. Causes an explosion. There's one duo boon that affects this. To make it even better, it bounces. Flood Shot can turn into Blizzard Shot, which is totally different. And I don't even want to talk about it with Blizzard Shot because it makes no sense. It does such a different thing. But yeah, Flood Shot's okay. I'll put it underneath Failing Shot as a base. Trippy Shot, high damage, creates a cloud, staggers enemies, so it's defensive as well. Then Electric Shot bounces around, it's lots of enemies. Fast. It's fast. It's all the casts. My goodness. Okay, to the dashes. To the dashes. Thunder Dash. Thunder Dash is low damage, but the reason why it can be really good is because you've got some secondary boons that can make it super great. Like if you've got Static Discharge, Double Strike, Zeus's Legendary, it can get pretty good. So we'll put it high B tier. By itself, it's not all that, but it can get really good with all the extra benefits. Drunken Dash, I think, it's below par. It's suboptimal. It kind of, every time you dash where you left, so it's like you dash and where you were just standing, there's 3 little puffs, and it applies hangover to those enemies that are in the little puff zone. It's lower damage than you might think. It just slightly underperforms. I don't pick up Drunken Dash if I can avoid it. All right, we were all waiting for this one. Divine Dash is possibly the greatest boon in the game. It's at the top for all these. It makes your dash deflect. It doesn't do much damage, but you've got so many iframes during the Divine Dash. You're deflecting everything. Ranged attacks don't matter. Ranged attacks don't matter because you're deflecting them. Melee attacks don't matter because you're deflecting them. It's this boon all by itself can be your entire defense. This is all you need to and it provides all the defense you need, and then you just focus on damage after that. It's a great boon. Incredible. Some people consider it the crutch. It's the thing that lets you do whatever the heck you want for the rest of the build, because you've got your crutch in place. Hunter Dash. I've never used this to very good effect. I typically avoid it. It's really good if you're doing a lot of dash attacks, right? So sword probably is really good with Hunter Dash, but I almost always want something else for, like, I don't know. I should really try like an Artemis focused Hunter Dash with, you know, on the Nemesis sword or something. That'd be really interesting. I haven't really given it much thought or time. I'll put it in the middle. I'll leave it in the middle. Yeah. Tidal Dash, Splash Dash, super, super, super good. I think that's another S tier. Once again, we talk about dashes and things that impact your dashes in a positive way. You dash so much in this game that they can have such high impact. Tidal Dash can be an incredible amount of damage in a huge area. Love Tidal Dash. Passion Dash, I'd say I use it more just to get the curse effect, right? You dash into enemies, suddenly they're all doing 30% less damage. It's an easy way to get this curse onto enemies, which is it's a high value curse. 30% reduced damage is great. Yeah, Passion Dash is good. It's a small area though. I don't love it, but I love it more than I love Hunter Dash or Drunken Dash. We'll put it that way. Blade Dash. Blade Dash I think does more damage than you realize. It's probably better than Thunder Dash, but it doesn't like go crazy. I don't think. It doesn't go crazy. The Blade Rifts, once again, like enemies have to stay in the Blade Rift area. It doesn't travel around, so you don't benefit from like hunting blades, but you do benefit from engulfing vortex and black metal, so that you can get the blade dash, the blades to be big, and enemies are stuck in them. So it's kind of like it's similar to Thunder Dash in that with all of the bonuses, Blade Dash can do a lot of damage. Mistral Dash. I actually like Mistral Dash more than a lot of other people do. I think the area is actually very good for Mistral Dash. It creates this like cloud, and it seems like the cloud lasts for like a half second or 3/4 of a second after the dash is done, and if enemies move into that area, it does damage to them. It does more damage than Passion Dash, I think, and it has a bigger area, but it's a similar effect. I think of these two very, very similarly. I want to apply a curse, right? Either I want them to do less damage or I want them to be slower, and I want to have privilege status. The end. That's all I think about with that. All right, let's move on to duo boons now, and then we'll end with the legendaries. The duo boons, there's a lot to talk about probably. Duo boons. Everyone knows what duo boons are. Duo boons require that you have 2 boons from 2 different gods, and sometimes they're unique. They're like specific boons. They're hard to find, but then they change the effect of something in a big way. Okay, Blizzard Shot. Blizzard Shot changes Poseidon's Shot. You need Poseidon and Demeter. Poseidon's cast and Demeter. It turns the Flood Shot into a slow-moving cast that creates these like little whirls all around it. It's like, did you ever play Diablo 2 or Diablo 3 or 4, the ice orb or the frozen orb? It's like that, except slower, and it does less damage. It feels, you lose the burst of Flood Shot and gain this kind of like area control, damage, chill thing. I think it's better, but not by a whole lot. The more I use Blizzard Shot, the less impressed I am with it. I don't love Blizzard Shot. It's okay, but it's not anything to get super excited about. Okay, calculated risk. Calculated risk, I'm gonna have to check some of these because I don't use them very often, but I believe this is the one that slows projectiles down. Yeah, slows projectile speed by 50%. I don't ever go for this. I will rarely take this. Most of the tier 2 boons that are out there feel more important to me than slowing down projectiles. In some cases, you slow down projectiles and it makes it worse. It makes it so like all of the projectiles are in this big cloud. You can't get through them. But usually it's just a defensive boon. It makes it easier to avoid projectiles. If you have a boon like the baseball bat build, right, with like Athena or Arthur's sword and Athena on the attack, and then suddenly there's this big clump of all these projectiles from witches, and you swipe them all, and they all go flying, and they do tons of damage. That's cool, but it's very, very marginal benefit, I'd say. We'll put it down in like C tier. It's not doing all that much. Okay, Cold Embrace. Cold Embrace is with the Demeter cast. Normally, a Demeter cast shoots and it like tracks enemies, and it tries to hit them. This makes all of your crystals for a Demeter cast all point towards you. So wherever you are, that's where the cast goes. So the faster you move, the faster the cast moves. It requires a weird amount of like coordination to get the beams to go where you want them to go. It does also increase the damage of the cast of the beams, but it ruins it. In my opinion, the reason why Demeter cast is nice sometimes is you set the cast, it's shooting, and then you go do something else. You can go think about something else while the cast does its thing. It shoots where you want it to shoot. With Cold Embrace, suddenly the cast is following you around, and you're trying to think about that while you're also trying to do everything else, and it makes it so you feel like you're losing your mind, and I hate it. I hate it so much. It's maybe my least favorite boon. I'm sure that there is someone out there, maybe even two people out there, that can use Cold Embrace to astounding effect, to like have the beams hit enemies all the time. But holy smokes. Yeah, I prefer it to just be a set it and forget it sort of situation. Cold Embrace. Okay, moving on. Many know how much I dislike Cold Embrace. All right. Cold Fusion. Cold Fusion makes your Zeus curse stay on enemies, and so even if they attack, normally static discharge would go off and it'd be gone. Cold Fusion makes it goes off, and then when they attack again, it goes off again, then it goes off again. It stays on them for a period of time. I think it's like 10 seconds. So it's pretty good. The trouble, or the reason why it's maybe not as good as some people want it to be or think that it is because typically, most of the time in a Zeus build, if you've got lightning effects, you probably have lots of lightning effects, and you probably have them going off all the time. Like if you've got the dash, the lightning is everywhere, and you're applying static discharge all the time. If you're attacking, you're applying that all the time, and it's bouncing around everyone, and it's applying all over the place. If your special is going off and lightning strikes are hitting, it's hitting very much, very much indeed. And so you don't need it to stay. You're going to reapply it, right? So it's not as good as you think it is. Sometimes it is good as marginal benefit, though. It's like, you know, it's like there, sure. It's in C. It underperforms, I think. People overestimate how good it is. Exclusive access. You now find only epic gear, epic boons or higher. It's only epic or higher. You can't find normal, you can't find rare anymore. Purple. This is what makes everything purple. If you find this early enough, it's great. The trouble is, to find this, you have to go after Dionysus and Poseidon, which is I think an awkward combination. They don't play well together usually. However, that being said, this is a very, very nice effect, right? Especially if you find this early, like that's great. Like you're gonna have a lot more. All your boons are gonna be better from this point on. So let's put it in high B tier. It's not that amazing, but it's up there. It's good. It's good. Not great though. Heartrend gives you more if your enemy is charmed, or not charmed, but has weak applied. and you crit that enemy, it does more damage. And it's a fairly significant addition to the damage. Can anyone, okay, here's a question for you guys. Maybe you guys know this better than I do. Heartrend versus clean kill. What do you say, what distinguishes it, other than the fact that this requires that the enemy is weakened and that it's a bigger number than in clean kill? Is there anything else that distinguishes them from each other? Because otherwise, I don't know. I take Heartrend because of course I want my crits to be bigger. But then clean kill does the same thing. Maybe I'm misunderstanding how clean kill works, but it doesn't seem to make that big a difference. Whereas Heartrend does seem to make a bigger difference. Like I put this in like A tier, but the fact that this is in C tier, anyway, my thinking on that maybe isn't optimal. I know it's better, but why? Why is it so much better? Is it like, how much is it increasing it compared to clean kill? Right? Because like an epic clean kill is 30%. This is 50%, right? It's not that much more. I don't know. I leave a comment. Leave a comment on the video if you have an opinion about that, or you can explain to me, is there a different mechanic? Is the calculation different? Is it multiplicative rather than additive? I don't know. I've never run the numbers. It's just it's 150% versus 30%. Seriously? That's huge. It's a lot more damage. Okay, Curse of Nausea, just a basically flat increase on the amount of damage that Hangover does. Rather than every half second that the damage hits, it's every 0.35 seconds. So it increases it by 30%, right? Yeah, 30% increase in the damage. So it's good. If you've got a build where you're using a lot of Hangover, it's very, very good. So maybe like we can put it in the same vein. Like when you're using crits, you want more crits to be bigger. And this, you want the Hangover to go off more. Similar idea. Faster damage, applying faster. But they have to have both curses on them at once. Is that right? No. That's not true. It's just any Hangover effects just go faster. Okay, Curse of Longing. Curse of Longing looks really great on paper until you start thinking about like when is this the most useful? Well, it's useful in a build where you're using a lot of Doom, which is from Ares. Curse of Longing makes it so the Doom keeps going off and off again and again and again, but at half damage each additional tick. So it goes off, it does 150 damage. The next time it goes off, it does 75 damage. The next time it goes off, it goes 37.5 damage. Did I do that right? Anyway, it halves it each time, and so it keeps going. It does keep the curse on for that entire time, so that's good, but that damage is halved. The reason why I don't think it's very good is typically in a build like that, you want to apply Doom. Again, rather than have it do half damage, you want it to apply full damage. And so this is useful for having like frame perfect applications of Doom, but at half effectiveness. So I would rather wait, 0.2 seconds and then get the full effect again, right? Like you're getting more bang for your buck if you just do it that way, in which case your Curse of Longing isn't doing anything. I'll put it at the top of D tier. That's the way I feel about it. I've had people argue with me about it. That's great. Let's argue. Freezing Vortex goes down here too. The reason why Freezing Vortex goes down here is because you can't get Hunting Blades if you have Freezing Vortex. It's the stupidest thing in the world, but it makes your Vortex, your Blade Rift small, and it applies chill. And that's all, the only benefit it applies is that it applies chill, right? Is there anything else that it does? Does it add any damage? No. It's slower, and it's smaller, and it applies chill. The end. It arguably makes it worse. Sure, you get chill, but there are other ways to apply chill, and your Blade Rift, if you're doing a Blade Rift build, this is the last thing you want. You don't care about chill. You want to do damage. It's bad. It's not at the bottom though. Cold Embrace is still worse. Okay, Sweet Nectar. Your palms do are doubled, right? So if you get a palm, it gives you 2 levels of that thing. I feel like it's so similar to exclusive access. These are very, very similar ideas. These just make your boons more rare. These make your palms double the effectiveness. In some things, Sweet Nectar is very, like, incredibly good. Like if you get Sweet Nectar and then you're palming your pressure points, well then yeah, you're getting 2% from each palm crit chance, which makes it way, way better. And so Sweet Nectar is super useful in that situation, or in like sometimes hangover damage. It's like 1 additional point of hangover damage for each palm, and so it's like 2 points instead. There are certain situations where having lots and lots of palms is great, but most of the time the diminishing returns on multiple palms makes it so it's not as good as you might wish it to be. Yeah, not as good as you might wish it to be. Yeah, Cold Fusion and Curse of Longing have a similar sort of problem in that it seems great, but then it also isn't great because the way that the build is probably working makes it negligible. Sweet Nectar is D. Well, if you go for it early, it's not D, and like doubling palms on certain things is good. Usually I find it in sticks, and then yeah, it is D, because I don't want my palms to be doubled at that point. I don't care. The game runs over. All right. Stubborn Roots. People like to argue with me about Stubborn Roots. Stubborn Roots, if you don't have any Death Defiances, you're healing. You heal for that period of time when you don't have a Death Defiance. So arguably, if you play very, very slowly and you're very, very careful and you sneak around and you hide, you can get to full health. No question about it. It's the best healing boon in the game. Full stop. But you need to have lost all of your Death Defiances. So if you have Stubborn Defiance, hence the name Stubborn Roots, Stubborn Defiance is very good with Stubborn Roots, right? These two were they were made for each other, because you can heal up in every room, just lose your Death Defiance, wait for Stubborn Roots to fill you to max, and of course in all that time you have to take 0 damage for the healing to matter. A lot of times I find that the longer I let enemies stay alive, well, I guess you could leave one enemy alive and just run away from it forever, and you can heal back up to full. It's a way that you can play the game. It is, and it might be the way that you get your first win. But once you've used it a few times, it's just as boring as anything. It's such a boring way to play. I'll leave it in B tier as a concession to anyone who likes this boon. It's not that it's not good to be able to heal to full whenever you want to wait forever and not take hits and run around, but I think that dealing more damage and just killing everything and then not taking any damage is better. But then we can go in circles forever on that one. Anyway, Stubborn Roots, leaving it in B tier. I would probably put it down in C tier, just because I don't care if I've lost all my Death Defiances, unless I'm doing a Stubborn Defiance, which I rarely do. Stubborn Defiance. Stubborn Defiance is worse for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is on a boss fight, you often lose 2 Death Defiances, and so if you once you've lost the first Death Defiance, then you're dead the next time it goes. You're dead the next time you lose a Death Defiance. So it doesn't feel as good. Anyway, we'll move on. Vengeful Mood. Vengeful Mood is such a cool boon. You know, if Stubborn Roots is like good, but I hate it, this is like maybe bad, but I love it. Your revenge boons go off automatically, and they all go off at once, and you don't have to take a hit for them to all go off. It just feels really fun. It feels really good, but I recognize that it's like, you know, it's not all that in a bag of chips. It's just okay, right? You're taking all of these revenge builds, and if you're a good player and you don't normally take a lot of hits, you still get benefit from your revenge boons like Heaven's Vengeance or all the other ones, right? Where did I put those other ones? Heaven's Vengeance was the only one I put in A. That probably makes sense. Anyway, You get benefit out of your revenge boons, which I like. And revenge boons are often very, very high damage. So it's high impact damage, if that makes sense. All right, we'll move on. I could talk more about Vengeful Mood, but I think my voice is giving out, so I'm gonna move on. Okay, Curse of Drowning. I've tried to make Curse of Drowning fun. I've tried to make it good. I think it's a cool looking effect. I think it's a cool designed thing, but I dislike it. I dislike it because I just end up taking a lot of damage, because you end up like the cast takes a while to get charged up, and then by the time it's charged up and you're like, I'm gonna run in and do all this damage now, then enemies just attack you and you die. I don't know. I've tried to make it work, but I don't tend to do well with it, so I'm gonna put it down low. Every time I try it, I'm like, I'm not doing that again. That wasn't fun. That wasn't good. Unshakable Metal. Gosh, I don't even know what Unshakable Metal does. It's like reduced damage from bosses, and what? Can't be stunned. Okay, that's useful. That's good. There are other ways to get that effect, like what's that effect? Sturdy. It's kind of like Sturdy, except that you also get better damage reduction from Sturdy, right? So there are some effects that give you Sturdy. Oh, like for instance, speaking of what else makes Hyper Sprint amazing, it gives you Sturdy for that duration. And Sturdy is like 30% damage reduction plus you can't be stunned. Weekly, it changes weekly. My opinion will change every week. So you better keep up. You better watch every video and don't skip one, because you want to know what I feel about, the boons in mid-August, in addition to late August, in addition to early September. The boons have a different place on my ranking. That would be torture for all of us, I think. Painful for everyone. Okay, Hunting Blades. Hunting Blades is an incredible boon. It takes a mediocre to decent cast, Slicing Shot, and it turns it into maybe one of the best abilities in the game. Slicing Shot with Hunting Blades is like, it's so much damage, follows enemies around, it lasts longer, super amazing. If you get Hunting Blades with the legendary as well, that's even more's the better. More's the better. Fun ability. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that the Medusa heads can't turn you to stone. That's cool. Thanks for that tidbit, Biggest Geek. Super interesting. Yeah, not much else to say about Hunting Blades. It's probably going up here. One of the best boons in the game, in my opinion. Not the best, but one of the best. Crystal Clarity. This, in my opinion, this is essential to make Demeter cast workable. You need this to make Demeter cast any good. Otherwise, it doesn't swing around fast enough. I'll put it in A tier, because it really does. It can make Crystal Beam feel a lot more fun, a lot more effective. You can actually focus on the damage of Crystal Beam. Otherwise, it feels like it's a waste. If you pump a bunch of palms into it, it's like you didn't get much out of that. But with this, suddenly it's tracking with enemies and it's dealing damage, and it feels good. And I think it also adds 10% more damage to your cast. That's good. Ice Wine. Ice Wine increases your damage, your cast damage by 30%, and it removes the lob mechanic. So no longer does the cast lob. It blasts an area, and it also inflicts chill. So you get the chill effect, you get 30% bonus damage, and you lose the lob mechanic. I think that makes it a pretty nice thing. It doesn't transform Dionysus cast quite like Crystal Clarity transforms Demeter's cast, but removing the lob mechanic makes it so much easier to aim, and it's a bigger burst. I like Ice Wine a lot too. I'd say that it's less impactful than Crystal Clarity. I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna go like that. Cool. I think Ice Wine feels better because it affects a cast that is more effective than Demeter cast. You know what I'm saying? But I think if you just look at what this does versus what this does for the cast, like taken separately, this effect is bigger. All right. Lightning Phalanx. This is maybe my least, well, not my least used. Well, it's my least used cast duo boon. It turns Athena's cast into a bouncing Athena's cast, which can be super, super strong because every time Athena's cast goes off, it's an explosion. And so it does area damage, and so if it's bouncing between enemies that are close together, it's doing a lot of damage. The main reason why this isn't as awesome as it sounds is because Phalanx Shot is so slow. So a lot of times it'll bounce, but it's like the arc is so, it's got a very bad turning radius, and it's so slow, it starts very slow. So unless they're clumped together and they're slow moving, like rats, say, or other things that don't move around much, it's less effective. But when they're tightly clumped and they are, you know, they're doing that thing where they're clumped up and they're slow moving, then it's great. I'll put it at the top of B tier. Yeah, good. Okay, Lightning Rod. My opinion about Lightning Rod, I used to feel like it was like trash tier, but the more I use it, the more it's kind of fun. It's a cool mechanic having the cast stone stay on the ground and then fire off lightning. The radius that it can fire lightning at is really what makes Lightning Rod so incredible. Right? Like I used to compare it to like Scintillating Feast, which also lightning strikes happen, but the area that Lightning Rod can send a lightning bolt to, the area that it controls, is so big. It's almost the whole screen. So I like Lightning Rod a lot more now. I'll put it up here in A tier. It belongs in A tier. It's graduated to A tier. All right, Parting Shot. Two pieces to Parting Shot. One, your casts can now backstab. Period. Also, all of your backstabs, not just your casts, all of your backstabs do 35% increased damage. So it's cool and for multiple reasons. It's cool for multiple reasons. If you want to use your casts to do backstabs, this allows you to do that, and those backstabs do more damage. Parting Shot, I'm gonna put it at the top of B tier, near the top of B tier. It's good, but I don't think it's all that amazing. I know some people think Lightning Rod is like top of the thing, but not me. It's fine. Okay, Low Tolerance. When low tolerance works, it's super cool. The problem is that it's very hard to make low tolerance work. You need a very fast attack of some kind, either your attack or your special. You need to apply the weak curse, and you need to use that hangover ability very, very quickly. So Chiron Bow is a perfect example of how this can work really well. Sometimes with your fist weapon or your rail, you're attacking fast enough to apply that many stacks of special of your hangover, but usually it's not that useful. Usually you don't hit enemies for that quickly to make it work, to make it get, so it increases the number of stacks you can get from 5 to 8, but usually once you get to 5 stacks, you're losing stacks as quickly as you're able to put them back on. So you can kind of like safely stay at 5 stacks, but you get up to 8 stacks, you can't reliably keep it at 8 stacks to get the higher damage for very long. It's hard. Lightning Rod is so much fun, and I like it. Honestly, Lightning Rod used to be down in C tier for me, so this is a huge improvement. This is huge. This is big, you guys. But I guess the same reason why I think Lightning Rod isn't S tier is the same reason why I don't love like Stubborn Roots, because it's such a passive way to play, and that's not the worst thing in the world. It's cool, right? You've set up this like lightning field. That's cool. It's cooler in that sense than Stubborn Roots. Stubborn Roots is just lose all your Death Defiances, heal yourself. Wait and heal yourself. This is like wait and let the lightning rods kill enemies for you. Much cooler looking. feels much cooler. Yeah. Okay. Smoldering Air. I didn't know how to feel about Smoldering Air at first. Smoldering Air kind of makes some of the calls worse. Basically, it makes it so you only have the first stack of your, or the first charge node of your call. So you can never do like the full max call for like Aphrodite's Aid or Artemis Aid. I think it actively makes these two slightly worse, but it charges on its own very quickly, much more quickly than Quick Favor does. They should really call this Quick Smoldering Air and this Slow Favor, if you ask me. But Smoldering Air is great, is amazing for Zeus's Aid or Dionysus Aid or Poseidon's Aid, like where you just want to get that call off quickly. It's incredible. So I'm gonna put it up here. It's so good, especially, I mean, with Zeus's Aid, I think is the best. It's like you've got so many lightning bolts going off, and then yeah, which is exactly what you want with a Zeus build, right? Merciful End goes into S tier as well. Anyone who's done much with Merciful End knows why. It can do an incredible amount of damage very fast. Yeah, Smoldering Air with Billowing Strength with Zeus Aid. What a sweet combination right there. But yeah, Merciful End, basically all of your doom effects, if you use a deflect ability, it goes off immediately. Very strong. Very strong. There's no question. It's all the way up here. I would put it behind Hunting Blades. It's so hard to find. The biggest thing that's bad about Merciful End is how hard it is to find that. You need the attack or the special of Athena, and you need the opposite one for Ares, and then you typically want to get Athena's dash so that you can use your dash to make Merciful End go off. But yeah, Divine Dash I think is still undefeated. Still undefeated. Okay. Deadly Reversal. So I'm going to read the wording on this because it's maybe a little bit confusing. Basically, your deflects make it so you're more likely to crit, right? So after you deflect, briefly gain 20% chance to deal critical damage for 2 seconds. So I think that's really good. I don't think that there's any confusion about how good that is. I think it's at the top of A tier, if not up here, maybe even above pressure points if you think about it, right? Like you're able to get 20%, sure, for 2 seconds, but if you deflect a lot, like if it's on your attack, that's a ton of crit chance. Anyway, Deadly Reversal I think should go up there too. I don't think about Deadly Reversal for some reason. Maybe I probably should though. Probably should think about it some more. Mirage Shot. Basically, you get another cast stone or cast effect that does 30% of the original cast effect. So if you've got Slicing Shot and Mirage Shot, with that you get 2 little slicing shots floating around, and that's good. It's 30% more damage, but it also any of the additional effects that you have from your cast gets doubled. If that makes any sense. So like for instance, if you have, no, we haven't talked about this yet, but Scintillating Feast, you have lightning bolts from your clouds. With Mirage Shot, you'll get 2 clouds with twice the lightning bolts. So the initial effect is only 30%, but all the lightning bolts hit for the same amount. I think Mirage Shot goes up here in A tier. It's good. That's probably above Lightning Rod though. Yeah, there we go. That's where it belongs. Yeah. It's any cast build, you want Mirage Shot. It's good for every cast build. Scintillating Feast, you need Dionysus cast, get the cloud, lightning bolts from the cloud. It's not as much damage. It's 60 damage versus what's the I think it's like, is it more? I think it's more with the lightning rod, but it's 60 damage, and the area is just within the cloud, so enemies have to be inside the cloud to get hit by the lightning, which isn't too hard to do, especially if you've got, well, because it does little mini staggers, so enemies have a harder time getting out of the cloud. It's good. I like scintillating feast a lot. It's a very cool effect. Very cool effect. Scintillating feast. But I'm gonna put it up here. Just an A tier. I don't know. I probably should move these around a bit. It's just so hard to compare these two together, right? Probably that belongs there and there, and you know, I can move things around all day. There's just too many boons. Then Sea Storm. Sea Storm, I think it's gonna go up here. For me, like not speaking objectively, but subjectively, I'd put Sea Storm at the very top these days. Sea Storm is it's like the greatest boon that we've ever had. It's the greatest boon to ever be created. It does such wonderful, amazing things. It makes these bros, Zeus and Poseidon, it makes them just like, you know that image of where Arnold Schwarzenegger and who's that other actor from Predator, where they're like, you know, they got the hands together. It's like that, you know? It's the Sea Storm handshake between the bros. I don't know. I think it's really great. Objectively speaking, I don't think it's as good as Divine Dash. Probably not. But for me, personally, it's really wonderful. Really great. That's the last of the duo boons. Okay. Now we'll get the Hermes legendaries out of the way. Bad news: if you don't have any cast stones in your inventory, you deal. No. Nope. Don't listen to me. That was wrong. I have to reread. It's like 50%. Is it? I don't get this boon very often. I think you can tell, but it does. It's bonus damage for any enemy with no cast stones in them, I think. Yep. Deals 50% more damage for foes without cast stones on them. So you can only find this with Stygian Soul. So no enemies will have cast stones in them. So this is just 50% bonus damage for your cast. It's great. It's really good. Bad news belongs at the top of A tier, I think. Top. There we go. Just a flat 50% bonus damage to your casts. It's a lot. And it works with any cast. Greater Recall is usually excellent. Occasionally it's not excellent when you want Lightning Rod to go off, but usually you want those cast stones back, and when they can come back to you automatically, that's great. That's also an A tier somewhere. Good. Very good. Vicious Cycle makes all of your blade rifts, the damage increases by is it like 8 or something? Can't remember exactly how much the damage increases with each tick. The ticks go off pretty quickly. Like how quickly? The rift damage, it doesn't say how quickly they go off, but each time it goes off, it increases by 2. So each consecutive hit, it just adds damage. I don't think it's not a make or break sort of boon. As far as legendaries go, it doesn't change things or make things more crazy, but it belongs in A tier. It's good. Most of these legendaries will. Splitting Headache. Oh no, this is a duo boon. Oh, stop. Oh wait, no, duo boon's still up. We're okay. Splitting Headache is like pressure points. It's like pressure points baby sister, right? You get 1.5% crit chance for each stack of Hangover. So great. Yep, starting over. We're gonna reset the whole thing, I think, because we got it wrong. All right, I'll edit this so nobody knows that I made that mistake, so that nobody knows. Okay, now we're talking about legendary boons. Where are you? Now we're talking about legendary boons. Okay, legendary boons. Let's go. Now, Winter Harvest does like a culling effect. I think it is it 20%? 10%. So, and then it creates a shatter. So really for most situations, the shatter is the most beneficial part of this, but against bosses, 10% HP is a big chunk of their health, right? So it's good. I mean, it's good in all situations. Basically you've reduced the health of every single enemy, and you've given them a 50 damage shatter. So it's very good. It's not. I mean, I think I've sung its praises before. It's certainly more effective than Vicious Cycle, and it affects anything that has that on it. Maybe right below Bad News. Very good. Unhealthy Fixation. You can do some like silly things with unhealthy. Basically, any weak effect can charm an enemy or make them fight for you for a little while. You can kind of cheese bosses with unhealthy fixation if you have high attack speed. Like you can get Hades to like keep getting charmed, and it's funny. This will be a joy to edit. It's true. It's good. It's not like, I don't think it's that crazy, but it is. You can cheese some things pretty, and that's fun. Okay, so we'll put that there and not talk anymore about it because I can't compare it to everything. That's too hard. Huge Catch is a meme. It makes you rarely get Huge Catch. I think the requirements for it are Sunken Treasure or what's the other one? Ocean's Bounty. And then you get this throwaway boon that makes you see more fish. So if you're trying to build up your account, Huge Catch is great. Otherwise, it's just a meme. It's fun. OP, S tier, best boon in the game. Or worst boon in the game. You decide. All right, let's go with Fully Loaded now. Fully Loaded, you get 2 additional cast stones. In order to find this one, you have to have 2 of the 3 secondary boons, either pressure points and support fire and exit wounds. 2 of those 3 boons you have to find, and then Fully Loaded shows up. Kind of hard to find, but it's very, very good. If you're in a cast build, there's almost nothing else that you want more than Fully Loaded. It's great to have additional cast stones. S tier. S tier. Second wave is cool, and maybe we can compare it a little bit to Unhealthy Fixation, in that it's silly to watch the enemies bounce around so much, and it's fun to get the extra knockback effects, like the Sea Storm lightning goes off, and they just look funny. The enemies just look like little clowns, kind of floating around. But let's be honest, it doesn't do as much as some of the other legendaries do. Still A tier, still an A, but I don't think we can compare it to some of these other ones. Splitting Bolt, S tier. I would even put it above Fully Loaded. Maybe right underneath Merciful End. If you've got a lightning build and you've got lots of sources of lightning, Splitting Bolt is just insane. It just so much bonus damage. Separate from the fishing. Some people play the game. Yeah, no, it's in its own category. It's in its fishing boon category. There's S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, and fishing boon tier. It's in that tier. Okay? Happy? Happy now? Splitting Bolt is crazy. Divine Protection is like you have a shield that goes away, but each new room you go into, you get the shield back. So in Styx, you get 1 free hit for every single of those little rooms that you get, which is great. And then every 20 seconds after you've lost it, you get it back again until you take another hit. Can be very good against boss fights. Can eat a lot of the damage and negate a lot of the damage for you. I'd say, yeah, it's better than these, right? I don't know, somewhere up there. It's hard to find. You have to find Brilliant Repost before Divine Protection will show up. This is the only way to get Divine Protection is for Brilliant Repost to show up first, which doesn't always happen. All right, and now my most elusive, I think Blackout I've gotten a handful of times because it's you think Divine Protection sucks? Yeah, so anyway, we'll move on to Blackout. Blackout, I rarely find this one because it it's hard to get. You need the cast, you need Festive Fog, and you need some way of applying Hangover. And Hangover afflicted foes take bonus damage in Festive Fog, so it's 60% bonus damage. So if you've got enemies in the Festive Fog and they have Hangover on them, 60% bonus damage while they're in there. How often are they in there? It's impossible. It feels short of like recording footage, watching it back, running the numbers. I don't know how to determine how much benefit that really applies. I really don't know how to do it, but I think we could put it in A tier.
Do you want me to save your weird hippie cookie dough?
Yes, I've been eating that every single day. Cottage cheese cookie dough, delicious and high in protein. But I'll just say that this is probably the boon that I have the least amount of experience with. Hades Aid. Oh gosh, Silas. Yeah, Hades Aid. I don't use that very often either. It requires, it takes up your keepsake slot, and there's so many other things I'd rather have in my keepsake slot than the Hades boon to get Hades Aid. But it makes you invisible until you attack, or if it's fully charged, it makes you invisible for a period of time whether you attack or not, and it gives you damage boost. I'd probably put it in, well, considering the opportunity cost that you have to use his keepsake, I'd probably put it in B tier, honestly. Okay, all right, good. All right, whew, it's 4:15. My goodness. As I look at this list, I thought, when I started making this list, I thought, oh yeah, when I'm done, I'll probably want to reorder some of this because of nuance and slight differences. But as I look at this list, I'm like, nope. My brain, I don't know how much more I can look at this and change anything about what's on here. These are my opinions. It's notable. I think it's a sign of what a good game Hades is, that most of the boons are in B tier. And between A tier and B tier, I think we've got like over 60% of the boons are slightly above average or average. Right? Like that's crazy if you think about it. There's a few real trash tier boons down here, and then the golden standard, the golden echelon of the upper echelon of boons right here. Magical. Yeah. Thanks everyone. Yeah, I know, exactly. We'd have to like start over next Saturday. We'll reorder it all again. No, but I'm curious if there's any, let me know in the comments of the video if you disagree with any of these really strongly. I don't want to hear if you just move them either up or down within a tier, or even if you just want to change them from one tier to the next. Like there's probably an argument for any of these, probably not any of these, but many of these to be an S tier, or some of these B tier ones to be an A tier, or vice versa. These ones though, I wouldn't move these personally. But anyway, every cast except one is B tier. Is that right? Did I do that? I didn't even do that on purpose. They're all lined up, aren't they? This was also just like my brain feeling overwhelmed. I want to keep them all together. And then Crystal Beam is just slightly worse. Without anything else, it's just too slow. Yeah. Whew. Fun. It's fun to make these, it's fun, and it's fun to do them live. Usually I do these alone in my room, all by myself, and it's great to have you all with me here to provide some commentary and some, side comments. Okay, my cat is a jerk, right? Here's this a hydrocortisone cream bottle. You can't see that very well, can you? partially because, hold on here, one sec. I'm just gonna illustrate something for you. Oh, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, turning off this. And I'm gonna cover up my face so you can't, so it focuses on this. All right, watch what the cat did. What a jerk! What a jerk! How dare you? I do have an itchy spot though here. She poked holes into my hydrocortisone cream tube. What a jerk. Easier X. I don't even have to unscrew the darn thing anymore. I should be happy. I should be happy about this.